But I do think, in being sober, I've been able to like work on a lot of my shit and really better myself and stuff. And it's been really rewarding. It's as people have said when I was in AA, it's a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I used to laugh at that and think it was really cheesy, but it really is, you know?
Welcome to Sober Dad Crew, the podcast where we talk about all things sobriety, recovery, parenting, music, tattoos, work, and more. For more information, please visit soberdadcrew.com. My guest this episode is Michael Valarelli. He was born in Florida but raised in Westchester, New York. He was a punk rock kid who played in bands into his 30s, but now he is in the food world and is the creator of Seeking Heat, a hot sauce-inspired brand and home of Speaking Heat Live, his talk show. Michael, welcome to Sober Dad Crew.
Thank you so much, Stephen. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So we jump right in. How many kids do you have?
I have two kids. I have an 8-year-old daughter named Gemma, and then I have a brand new little guy, 4-month-old son named Ellis.
So you're sleeping a lot right now.
Sleeping a lot, yeah, just straight through, no interruptions.
Nope, none at all.
Yeah.
Did you always want to be a dad? Was like that on your radar, or?
I think I always envisioned it. I don't know. I come from a pretty like chaotic family. I mean, we're all good now, but my upbringing was, loving, but a little loud, and but I always thought that maybe I could do it in a different way, and see what happened. But so yeah, I guess so.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Yeah, no, everything is. Yeah, no, it's good. It's so good that sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it. That's how good it is.
Yeah, I think you do, and I think like it's a gift too. I always like being a dad to me is a total gift. Like we were chatting a little bit, before we hit record, and you know, you're in a second relationship with your baby, and I'm in a second marriage, and it's interesting to kind of get another round. Like mine are much older, my biological kids, than my stepkids, but man, like they're just all my kids, and it's such a gift for someone to call you dad. Like, man, that title to me is the title of titles.
Yeah, no, it is. It's super definitive, and I think that, over time, obviously we become, dad is sort of our like brand, so to speak, and
Yeah,
like,
so you're so-and-so's dad.
Yeah,
22
exactly.
years ago, I became Miles' dad, and it's kind of like you just wear that hat for a long time.
Yeah, no, totally. And I feel like it's gonna get more like, that's gonna be more of my identity as my kids get older. My daughter, as she enters adolescence and all that fun stuff. I mean, you know about it. I cannot. I can't even imagine what it's gonna be like. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have found I love babies. I got a vasectomy, so no more babies because I'm old.
Nice.
But yeah, highly recommended when you're ready.
Yeah.
I did an episode. I interviewed a urologist, and we talked all about vasectomies so people can learn all about it. But
I should check that out.
yeah, every age is cool. I mean, there is something about a baby that's like real snuggly. And as they've gotten older and like out of the snuggle age, it is a little bit of a bummer,
Yeah, it is. Like my 8-year-old, she's little for her age, and she visibly looks more like a 6-year-old. So I'm really holding on. She's hasn't even lost all of her baby teeth yet. So we cuddle still. I she's my first. I'm sure even when she's like 15, I'm going to view her as a baby. I think that's what I hear people do. That's just how I hear how it goes. I don't know. Is that true? Do you look at your daughters like that?
It's interesting. So with like the stepkids, because I didn't meet them till they were older, like there was, especially my stepdaughter, this process of reading to her every night. was this way
Yeah,
we kind of quietly built our relationship, like, really lovely because we
that's
didn't
great.
do it when she was little, and I just, moved in my 18-year-old daughter into a dorm on Friday, and that's the second one for me that launched, and, my wife now, we when the 22-year-old launched, she didn't know him, too well, and he went off to Costa Rica. And I was saying to her, I said, "It's like feeling homesick. Like your kid
Huh.
leaves and you feel it's like reverse homesickness." And she said to me, Friday after we got home, she's like, "I know what you mean now. It's just
Wow.
weird." Like, and it's what they should do, right? They're supposed to launch. Like, she's
Yeah.
going to college to be a nurse, like, fucking
Oh,
A,
that's great.
like,
That's
right
awesome.
on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you found your thing and you went to the dorm and that's what you're supposed to do. So, success, a little pat on my back, but it's also weird when they leave, though she was out and about. Like her older brother is 22. He really like launched, it was still COVID. And
Wow.
so like his senior year of high school and stuff was really like they went to prom in masks.
Jeez.
And
Yeah.
so she's just been off with her boyfriend. And like, I'm like, all right, this is what you're supposed to do when you turn 18. Like, get in your car and be out and come home late and get Taco Bell and all the stuff.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's, again, like looking at my 8-year old, it's hard to not fast forward in my head, but when I do that, there's sort of a benefit in that, it forces me to be more present and tell myself, listen, like, even through the hard times of like when I would have to put her to bed, I still do, but it's like you get frustrated and you're like, you know what? One day you're gonna miss this frustration. You're gonna miss having to put her to bed and that like rigorous part of raising a kid. And so I try to stay as present as I possibly can because I know that day is going to come where
It
she is going somewhere for a long time. I can't even imagine.
it goes fast. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing I say to people who have a new kid. I'm like, don't blink. I mean, 22 years, I can't. It
Yeah.
seems like yesterday I was bringing him home from the hospital thinking, "Oh my god, like who said this was the right idea?" Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like totally responsible for this tiny little human being.
Yeah.
Um, but it really just it does go so fast. And it's funny you're talking about frustration. I interviewed someone recently and he was talking about his sobriety and he's like, I'm grateful even in that frustration that I'm present like in the frustration, like that's part of the whole like gift is,
Absolutely. Yeah.
being present for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, and I'm very conscious of the fact that I am more present now and that, there was a time where I sort of looked to escape from anything that was happening in real time and now, good or bad, you have to face it. And it's actually that I think is kind of a gift in and of itself because I feel like I'm learning more each day, and as a result of kind of operating that way.
Yeah, and like it's just not always easy to be a parent. Sometimes it's mad
Yeah.
frustrating, sometimes it's amazing, right? A
Yeah.
lot of times
Yeah.
it's sort of in the middle, or you're just tired, or you're like, man, I just want to watch some Star Trek reruns for a little while and not
Yeah,
have
yeah,
like anybody bug me. But,
yeah.
then you'll like my 13-year-old, she did this the other day. I was like, and I guess we're calling it the den now. That's like where all my records are. And she came in and there she's got some of her like Taylor Swift records are in there. And she just sat on the floor and she started looking at records. I'm like, oh, savor the moment,
Yeah,
where
I
you're
mean,
just like hanging.
yeah, no, that's great. And you talk about records, music is something that my daughter and I and my partner now, we bond over it and we bond over a lot of pop music because there's no way in hell my daughter will ever, willingly listen to any of the stuff that I like, maybe one day, but no, that's, eh, the whole being able to bond through records, through movies, through all that stuff. It's like it's so much fun, and regardless of what it is, I mean, I've become a Taylor Swift fan by default. Because all the women, in my life either have been or are or whatever. So, um, female pop music has been instrumental, no pun intended, in the relationships that I hold dear.
And I got no shade to throw on Taylor Swift, like, as a
It's
business
hard to,
person,
yeah,
badass,
talk
re-recording
about a
all that
brand.
stuff, screw that guy, gonna, like,
Yeah,
get my masters back, like,
yeah,
when I heard she, like, was training for her, her tour, she'd, like, run on the treadmill and sing her
sing her.
3-hour show. I'm like, "You're like a
Yeah,
professional friggin' athlete, like, that's incredible."
it really is. Yeah, she's something, and it's funny. I've gotten to the point now where I've become like defensive, uh, and about Taylor Swift, and like people will kind of throw shade at her and talk shit, and I think that she's a really hard worker. I think that, yeah, I mean, she has her flaws, I guess, as a celebrity or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I respect her, and I think that she's done a lot. She's paved the way for a lot of like really cool music and really, cool artists, and she has good taste too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and, I'll say, like, the Folklore album and what's the other one, Evermore, that she did with the guy
Yeah,
from The National, like,
the
those are
National.
lovely.
Yeah,
Those are, like,
yeah,
pretty great records and just show this other side of her. I'm like, "Oh, you're a hell of a songwriter," like, behind all the sort of
yeah.
performance, like, there's some great songs there.
Some of them sound like straight up songs by the National. I mean, I remember like when I first heard some of those songs, I was like, these could easily be like on Trouble Will Find Me or something. Like yeah, no, I that was a real turning point when she worked with them because through my drinking years and non-drinking years, married years, non-married years, the National was such an anchor for me, and like really like definitive in my life. I mean, I think they're kind of like a little bit boring now, but yeah, that band. I mean, that collaboration was huge because it kind of forced me to like, I don't know, have that familiar. I can't say that word, but the similarities between me and people that love Taylor Swift were much more in line.
It I was just I don't know, it was over the summer. It was like listening to a podcast or reading. Do you know Amanda Petrusich? She's the music writer for The New Yorker, or one of them. And she
Yes,
wrote a profile of them, and she was on a podcast, and she was talking about the death, like, her husband died really young, like,
oh
when her
man,
kid was, like, under 1 year old, and they were talking about, like, sad ass music, and the National was, like, high on the list,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I can't remember what tour I saw them on, but they were great live, like, and it was
yeah,
still
they
when
really
Matt
are.
Berringer was, like, going in the crowd.
Yep, yep, I
I don't
remember when that
yeah,
started. Yeah,
I think he's retired that part of his program as he's gotten older, but
yeah.
it was an incredible show, but,
He still actually does go in the crowd. We saw them last summer, and it was at a big like amphitheater, and he was in there. He was in there for I think every show on that tour at one point. So he's I don't know if it's the white wine or what, but he's all about it, and more power to him.
longest speaker wire ever for his mic. Like, he does not use a
Yeah,
wire. I'm like, "That
he
dude's got a
doesn't.
long wire on that microphone."
His roadies are very much like they know what to do. I've always noticed that. Yeah,
They probably
it's pretty
practice,
wild.
like,
Yeah,
winding that thing. It's probably like
I
a
mean that
whole
could be.
segment of tour prep.
I can't imagine that could be such a catastrophe if it goes wrong. But yeah, it hasn't. It's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
Well, as we always do on Sober Dad Crew, we digress a little bit, but let's circle back a little bit to your sobriety. And can you kind of tell us that, the story to whatever extent you're comfortable?
Yeah, no, 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 I'll try to do it in a with a sense of brevity. But basically, like anybody else, I guess, I didn't really drink in like high school, so I started recreationally at like 17, and then like I was from then on into my 20s, just would kind of, I was always kind of an insecure kid, and I think that I realized at that age, at like 17, 18, that drinking made me much more, ballsy and funny. I thought it made me funny, and just confident. And it was, it led to a good time at that point, in my early 20s for the most part. And, I think the older I got, into my late 20s, it started becoming like more of a depressive. And, I would go out and, talk about the National. It was sort of like, that was like part of, my those formative years and like my mid to late 20s, and like go out and get fucked up and have fun, look for girlfriends, and then I wouldn't find girlfriends, and then I would go home and just get sad and continue to drink by myself. And that, at the time, even, I realized that that wasn't something that all of my friends were doing. So that seemed weird, but that kind of led into, even when I was married for 10 years, and like meeting my, now ex-wife. Even at the beginning, we did a lot of drinking. And I remember when we first met, we would drink a lot. And it's kind of like our relationship was almost through going out and drinking. And like, I don't know, like, not, I mean, I probably drank more, but it was like part of it. And it led to a lot of arguments very early on, some volatility, a lot of jealousy with me. Um, and I kind of found that I was drinking through a lot of that, and I think that I've done that a lot in my life. Um, but in my marriage, there were some times where I drank to the point of like blacking out, which I don't think is just an appropriate thing to do when you're in your 30s, mid 30s, and it happened a few times. And there were a few like minor to major incidents that kind of occurred that, I'm still to this day not proud of. And it was when I was blacked out, and, I lost friends and gained some of them back. But, it's like you do these things when you're not even, in a state of awareness, and you wake up the next day and people have to tell you about them. And at the time, I was pretty elitist and self-righteous. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's not a big deal. I was drunk, whatever. Um, so long story short, had a kid in my marriage, and that definitely calmed things down. She's 8 now, so 8 years ago had a kid, or 9. She'll be 9 in like 2 weeks. But I think having a kid, I calmed down a little bit. I wasn't, the frequency was different of drinking. I wasn't really, COVID hit, and that was like, when everybody was kind of openly drinking hard liquor, and it was just a lot. And I think that was the beginning of the end of my drinking career, and also my marriage. Really kind of like suffered at that point, like a lot of other marriages. And people kind of went through so much during that time. But I was also living with my in-laws, so that I had to kind of drink through that. Um, but my marriage ended not because of my drinking, uh, per se, but it was more of just a interpersonal difference that we had, and really didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. I wasn't really, the drinking wasn't really affecting a lot. But when I got separated from my then wife, she kind of gave me an ultimatum and said, like, if you don't stop drinking, then, it's going to be hard for you to see your daughter, which at the time I thought was really extreme. I still kind of do. But I stopped drinking, because at that point, early on, when I was separated from her, I still wanted to get back with her. I didn't want to. I didn't want to get divorced. It seemed like a failure to me. But I did stop drinking, and I stopped drinking for like a couple of weeks. Went to a few meetings, and then I drank. I had like a beer after being sober for like 2 weeks, and it was December 21st when I had my last beer ever. And it took time. I got involved in a program, and I went to AA, and I met a lot of people in AA. And it was a process, and really never did I want to drink. It kind of just like slowly. the urge like slowly dissipated, and I started to actually really like being sober. And it started to become something that I was proud of. And you know, through being sober, I started running a lot. I was vegan for a year. I really started to like treat my body better, and then I also started to just treat my family better. And you know, it was kind of like it was gradual, but it was also a very like, you know, running marathons was something that I never thought I would do. I ran three in the last 3 years like that. You know, I used to say people run so they can like tell people about it, you know. I still kind of think that, but now I run, and I run, you know, 3, 4 times a week. And it's like if I don't do that, I feel like I'm reverting back to my old self, you know. So just a lot of changes that I've made since becoming sober almost 4 years ago. And it's like I am, I think, you know, more or less I'm a different person. But, you know, as you know, in sobriety, you still have character flaws. You know, there's never, they don't always go away. Um, but I do think, you know, in being sober, I've been able to like work on a lot of my shit, and really better myself and stuff. And it's been really rewarding. And I think people around me for the most part are happy where I am, you know. And it's I used to be worried about, you know, going to shows and seeing music and going to Yankee games and not being able to drink. But I got to tell you, last night I went to a Yankee game with my dad and my brother, and I'm still rowdy and fun, and you know, I can have a good time and dance in like a, you know, bar with my friends. And it's as people have said when I was in AA, it's a life beyond your wildest dreams. I used to laugh at that and think it was really cheesy, but it really is, you know?
It is. I mean, my wife and I always say to each other, you know, and she's sober too. You know, we have a beautiful life, and it's totally built. Like we wouldn't be together if we hadn't both gotten sober. You know, I
That's
mean,
amazing.
you know, we're both divorced and all that, and I think going into a second relationship when you're a little older, you also know a thing or two more.
Yeah.
You know, also had lived with an in-law for a while. That was its own unique level of challenge. And,
Hmm.
you know, my older kids, my ex-wife, we had sort of been in the wine industry in the Finger Lakes, you know, and that was, you know, like you sort of part of the relationship a little bit. So,
Yeah, I'm sure.
you know, that shifted when I got sober. But I also feel like I found the person who I was again, you know? Like, I remember, and some of this was dealing with depression too, but I remember one day being like, I remember that like kind of nerdy tattooed guy. Like he's sort of back. And that was such a good feeling. Like, I mean, I'm 15 and a half years sober now. I can't imagine
Wow.
like it, you know, my mom died this summer. Like, you know,
I'm sorry.
hard things have happened, right? But it never occurs to me to have a drink. Like, not
Yeah.
even like it's not even a thing. And I know not that's not a thing for everybody, you know, but
Right.
for me,
Yeah.
I got to this point where I'm like, I wouldn't fuck this up for anything.
Yeah. No, it's pretty amazing. And I feel like I don't give myself enough credit for it. Other people around me do. And it, you know, I have this like imposter syndrome, which is talked about so much in AA, which I don't really go to AA anymore. I haven't gone in a while. I've kind of developed my own, you know, I feel like running is my program, honestly, and music, and you know, and reading and keeping my mind afloat. And but that imposter syndrome thing is real. And sometimes I forget, you know, I forget what I've been through. My mom died in 2012. I never really, you know, grieved it fully. And um, I probably have more recently, but like, you know, so much happened when I was drinking that I just kind of like, I don't know, it's like hazy at this point, you know. And that's unfortunate, but I feel like I'm able to, I don't know, move forward more, you know, now, and just kind of like, you know, accept, you know, acceptance is big, I guess, too, right? Like that's another theme.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, life was never promised to be easy, right? And I like to say in the
Yeah.
best of times and the worst of times, I am most grateful to be sober
Yeah.
because I mean, hardness just happens, right? I mean, I interviewed a Buddhist minister and we're talking about, and it was right after my mom and died, and we're talking about the combination of grief and gratitude
Hmm.
and being like sad, but so grateful for her life that I was like, yeah, this, I can accept the beauty in her life and that, she was 85, she had had dementia for a long time. So it was like also time, but to be able to look back and feel mostly just grateful,
Oh yeah.
for my mom was that there's a real gift in that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for as many faults and sort of hardships my mom went through, I still I think back and I try to remember everything that was positive. My mom had substance issues, she had mental health issues, and it was all overlooked, and I feel like people back in the 80s and 90s just didn't, you know, therapy was such a stigmatic
Oh
thing,
yeah.
and sort of like taboo and embarrassing for people, and she never really sought therapy, and without a doubt she needed it, and I that's another thing that I'm really grateful for is being able to talk about therapy with people and not be ashamed of it. And also not be ashamed of the fact that my mom, was an addict, and I can actually, for the first time, and I think since my sobriety, I've been able to be open about that. I used to lie to people and tell them that she died a different way because I was like embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed anymore. It's not. I don't think that addiction is something to be embarrassed by, whether it's within yourself or people that you know. I mean, I don't know, and that was always something, but I've been much better at that. I think thinking about her as more of a person that struggled, and really had it a hard life for as loved and like loving as she was. I can't imagine, uh, you know, having to deal with all that and not really having like a program.
Yeah, or the options we have now, right? Like, because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
do 12 step, but I did a lot of therapy, but there's just so much more out there. And I always
yeah,
think, like, I had this lens, I don't even know when I developed it, but like, sometimes you work with somebody difficult or whatever. And I always try to remind myself, I'm like, it also is probably like really hard to be that person. If there's someone who's just like not good with people and you have to work with them, it's also just probably really hard to be them and trying to
right,
navigate that. Like, try and what is it, put on the other shoe or whatever that phrase is, walk in somebody else's shoes.
yeah,
And I think like that, I think just maturity, but sobriety has helped me like look at that and figure that out too. Like, oh,
like
right. It's,
empathy.
yeah, a little, yeah, empathy. Like, we need a lot more empathy right now up in the United States of America. Um,
Christ, we do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's rough out there, but
Yeah, it's not the American way anymore, which is
it is not.
unfortunate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or the American dream. All right,
yeah.
I have a confession for you.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
do
let's
not
go.
like hot sauce. I'm a wimp.
Oh my
I'm a
God.
spice
I,
wimp. My family
oh,
mocks me.
uh,
My
how
family
dare
loves some
you,
hot
dude?
sauce, so I mean, you might be done.
Really?
You're like, fuck this interview. We're done now.
I have to go. Yeah, no, this is it.
That's
It's
it.
unfortunate, Steven, because I thought that you seemed like a really like-minded guy, but this cannot
Just
continue.
cannot stand.
No, 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 no. You know what? And this is something that hot sauce is great, and I love it. But and for anybody who doesn't know, like, kind of what I do with that stuff, it's a passion project. It is not my full-time job, but at all. But hot sauce, as great as it is, and as cool as it is, and how fun and of a community it is, for me, it's been sort of a meta vehicle in connecting with people like yourself, people in bands, writers, actors, comedians, whatever. Like, through hot sauce and because of hot sauce, somehow, I've been able to have conversations and like collaborate with people that I never thought I would. And it's been really weird, and fun and awesome. But I love hot sauce. And I think maybe perhaps you can kind of see it this way. I see hot sauce as like almost like a alcohol-free craft beer, because it has that cadence of like small batch and like the labels are fun and a lot of hot sauce people are sober too. And I've, had the pleasure of bonding with, sober, not sober, whatever. But it's a cool community. And I don't actually like the super, super, super hot stuff as much. It's just too much. It's not fun. Um, I'll find a hot sauce for you, Stephen.
Okay. Yeah. My brother in
I
law
will.
does these like pepper jams. His name's Teddy. So he calls them Teddy's jams, which we love.
That's
And
awesome.
they're like, it's a little sweet and spicy. So I like that. I just don't want like
Yeah.
fire, you
Yeah.
know?
I don't
Like, I
either.
want
Yeah.
flavor. Like, I love
Yep.
food and like in the
Same.
shift away from drinking because I really liked wine pairing and stuff. Like, the NA
Yeah.
world has been nice and the development of
Have you had proxy? Sorry to interrupt.
no.
Proxies? We got to get you some proxies. It's amazing.
Is that a hot
It
sauce or a beverage?
No, it's a beverage. It's not a de-alcoholized wine. It's like a sort of a botanical. It's its own thing, but it's non-alcoholic wine per se, and it's in beautiful bottles, and it's really really good, and it pairs with food. He does like a almost like a Sauv Blanc and like a rosé and a sparkling. They do them in cans. It's so good. Yeah, no, we are really blessed with like the NA stuff, I must say.
Yeah, and that's really shifted. Like
Yeah.
we really like seedlip in our house for sort of
Oh,
making, and that's an herbal botanical sort of it has a ginish vibe a
oh,
little
nice.
bit. So,
Yeah,
but it has also there's a texture to it. You know what I mean? That kind of is
yeah,
a little thicker and is just
yeah,
more interesting than I spent years just going to see music in bars and drinking seltzers, which was fine, but it's
yeah,
actually nice if you like food and you like that experience
yeah.
to like
And you
combine that.
I can't wait to say what I'm going to say because this is something that I didn't like about AA was that a lot of the times that community scoffs on NA. I remember once at a meeting I brought up non-alcoholic beer and I sort of asked the room like, "Is it okay?" And it was like a fucking like shit show of like people just getting on their high horse about it and like somebody said, and I'll never forget this, like, I didn't drink for the taste of it, you know? I'm like, you know what? Like, as being like such a food guy as I am too, I kind of did, like wine pairings with food, beer, and like
Yeah.
wings, and like I did, and I actually really do like the taste of it, and I think, and from a food standpoint, it's a shame that it's kind of looked at as a weakness, which it really is in AA, and it's I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, and that's also where I like sort of the variety of the world now with recovery and
Yeah,
and I know of a lot of people who do 12 step and it's pivotal to them. I had one guest
yeah,
and he's like, somebody said to me non-alcoholic beers for non-alcoholics. But I've interviewed, Chris Marshall, who started Sands Bar in Austin, and there's just and the people, I don't know, do you know All the Bitter?
no,
They were, French Laundry sommeliers, and they stopped drinking, and they make
whoa.
non-alcoholic bitters, and they're super cool
Oh
people.
my God. Oh, that's
Um,
so cool. I love that.
and they have, like, 12 different kinds, like a lavender one. It's just you can just squirt that in a seltzer too, and you're like, "Oh, I just totally enhanced this, this drink into something else."
Like an aperitivo,
Yeah.
yeah, like, oh, I love that. Yeah, that's great.
I mean, I was
I
never
miss that.
a super beer guy, so I haven't gotten into that world yet, but it's just nice, and they're around where I live are some bars that really take it seriously and have like,
Yeah.
you know, shrubs and this stuff. It's just really delicious.
I feel like that's kind of the issue is that it's a real like sort of geographic dichotomy. Like, I live in Connecticut and they don't really do a great job with non-alcoholic. We have athletic brew. They're based here, and obviously
Yeah.
their
And they're
teams now.
everywhere,
But
which is good, right? Like that's,
yeah, and I'll get that. Or like even like I had last night at the Yankee game, we went to a bar. I had a Heineken 00, and actually those are pretty good. And I had one. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it's like you have one, and you hold it. And Liquid Death has been big in my life. I have like a Liquid Death tattoo. It's like that was early on, like being able to hold a tall boy at like a show was always just fun, and it felt good. And
I admire Liquid Death so much because they managed to take seltzer and, like, sell it for a lot of money and,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
have great branding, and I'm
the
like,
marketing is insane.
the marketing's insane. I'm like, "Bring me
Yeah,
on. I wanna, like,
they're
work
so
for you
good.
guys."
I tried for a long time, and then I realized, like, you know what? I don't know. Don't shit where you eat, type of thing. Like, I probably would start to hate them if I worked for them. But um, it's yeah, Liquid Death was a big deal in my sobriety, and just like the punk rock connection, and they started showing up at like hardcore shows that I would go to. I remember the first time I went to a show. It was an I don't know if you know the band Angel Dust. Do you know those
I
guys?
don't.
They're from Baltimore. They're like buddies with Turnstile, who I think you like.
Yeah, I dig
Um,
Turnstile, the weirdly
and
controversial Turnstile. I'm like, "Just dig
yeah,
the
yeah,
music, it's good."
it is. It's fun. I listened to them today, but I went to the show, and they had Liquid Death at the bar, and I got like choked up. I was so excited, like that to me is a big deal. And I went to see the band Fiddlehead recently in the city, and most of the people at the show were drinking Liquid Death, and it was like shit, man. Like the world is drinking less, I think, and I attribute that to like there being all these acceptable NA drinks and seltzer in general and stuff. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really grateful for going out. I mean, I've told this story before. We went out for our anniversary to a very nice restaurant in Ithaca
Mhm.
near where we live, and
Oh,
I
I didn't
could
realize you lived in Ithaca.
yeah, I live outside of Aurora now, but I work
Okay.
in Ithaca, but,
Oh,
most of
nice.
my career is Ithaca,
Yeah.
and, I could see this fully stocked bar, and I said, "Can like, what's your NA menu?" And they're like, "Well, we have Pepsi products." And I thought, "Look at that goddamn bar. You probably have 10 different gins up there, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be paying, like, $40 for this entree."
Right.
Like, really? Like, come on now.
Yeah. It's yeah. I to be honest, I get bent out of shape about that too. I mean, there are restaurants that I go to that don't have anything, even athletic, and it's like I think there's a misconception, but I've read so many articles about how America is drinking so much less, the world is drinking less. I mean, and that's probably because of like legalized weed or whatever. But yeah, it's frustrating, and I think that we could do a better job as a society. And I would love to do something like, you know, create something that was, an alternative to all that stuff, and it should be more accessible. And there shouldn't be a stigma. I really, I don't, and I get if it's, and I have empathy for people who are triggered by the taste of beer. I get that. Um, but
Know
still,
thyself, you know?
yeah,
Like, if
exactly.
there's something you can't have, like, don't have it, and if you
That's
can't
it.
have any of it, don't have it.
And
Yeah,
don't
I
judge those who can, right?
yeah. I interviewed the guy who runs the Empty Bottle in Chicago,
Okay.
which is, mostly a music venue, and he's sober. He got sober, and he put in a full NA menu, and in the first year, it grew
Huh.
600%.
Whoa.
I mean, like, give me any business opportunity that I could grow 600%. Well, mostly it
Yeah.
would bury you, mostly that growth. And he said, yeah, a lot of it was just sober people, but a lot of it was
Yeah.
people who would have a beer, but then wanted to switch over because they were
Yeah.
driving or, so it's sort of like the meatless burgers. Most of the people
Yeah.
who buy those are not vegan, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's good. It's good. There's options.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we need to do better. I think that, and even in, I go to New York to see shows and stuff like that. And I like eating out, and I think that, it's frustrating when, I would love for every restaurant to have some sort of NA wine. I don't miss getting drunk, but I miss tasting wine with, clams, pot spaghetti carbonara. Sometimes it's like, I don't want to have like a Diet Coke, like, I mean,
Yeah.
I will, but it would be nice to have something to like brighten up your palate and, kind of catch the food better.
Yeah, and people who, like, actually are thinking about that. I interviewed a chef, Sam Dominich, and he does, he's sober and he does tasting menus, and he
Yeah.
does them 2 ways with the pairings. So there's, like, a whole
Wow.
NA pairing that he does in his restaurant.
Oh, that's
He's in, like,
fantastic.
Nashville or something. I was like, "I gotta go down there and have that because that's, like,
That's great.
super cool." That
Yeah.
there's, like, that level because I love, like, food. Like, my grandmother was such a cook, and that's, like,
Same.
why I love food, and it just
Yeah.
and I love cooking for people and, like, sharing that stuff, so
Yeah.
it's
No,
just important
100%.
in community and
That's exactly what it is. I mean, that's how I view food now, and I've been working in the food industry for the last like decade plus, and it's food is a communicator. Hot sauce has been a communicator for me. There was a time where, yeah, going out and having a drink in the city was a communicator, much to the chagrin of, people around me sometimes. But, I yeah, that's how I view food the same exact way. It's nice to kind of share that with someone as well.
yeah, and it just yeah, I don't like limiting anyone on anything. I think that's, like, what bums me out with that sort of narrowness of recovery, and I hope,
Hmm.
like, part of the point of this is to share all these different stories and people's different journeys and, like, how they get where they get. Did 12-step work for you? Yeah, cool. Did it not work
Yeah,
for you? Do you do therapy? Like, whatever, like, friggin' works for you that
yeah,
makes you, like, present as a dad and for your spouse or partner or at work or whatever. I mean, I always say, like, I'm a better employee because of, like, the shit I've gone through in the past. I'm more empathetic.
yeah.
I'm, like, more engaged. I care about the environment in the workplace. Like, that's almost more important to me than the work, is like, I'm here a lot. Is this a good place to be?
Remember, like being, hungover at work and dealing with that. That was always something that I just couldn't deal with. And I do not miss that. I don't miss just it's like you're abusing your body and then you have to wake up and somehow make a good impression. I always had a hard time with that. So now, yeah, I'm always grateful for like being clear headed, at work. Yeah, I'm a better employee, for sure.
All right, let's talk about tattoos. What was your first tattoo?
Good topic. My first tattoo, and this is very sort of autobiographical and means a lot, was I got my favorite band of all time, unapologetically, and people like to shit on ska music, but I think that they're much more than a ska band. Is a Mighty Mighty Bosstones Bulldog, sort of a variation of it, and it says "Kinder Words," which is a song of theirs. It's like my probably it was the first song I heard of theirs, and it's a song that I still gives me chills to this day. Um,
They're more than that one hit song they had for a hot second.
They really are, and they have such a cool following of people that I've met over the years. They're really nice guys, that I've gotten to know better as I've gotten older. And they used to be a rowdy drinking party band, but like they've grown into this, and they're unfortunately they broke up because of stupid shit. But they always sang about unity and anti-racism and inclusiveness and camaraderie among men and women. And I don't know, it was always they were always great role models to me. And yeah, so I was like, I have to get a Boston's tattoo, and I thought at the time that would be my only one. And then as you may or may not know,
It
that
is
it's a
a
slippery
slippery
slope.
slope, my friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I take pride in it, man. Like, my daughter loves my tattoos. My ex-wife used to give me shit for them and make me feel bad about them, and now I'm with somebody who actually loves them and respects my interest in them, and I'm happy that they're so accepted now.
Yeah,
You
like,
know,
yeah, they're out at work for me. I know, like, I'm
Yeah,
a grown up. I like know how to put on a suit if I have to, right? Like people
yeah,
understand that at work. Like I understand that there's times where that's probably not like the right vibe, but it is nice that the
yeah,
world's more open. But like back to ska for a minute and all the unity. I mean, that is like the origin of ska music was like
yep,
interracial bands in England. It was a huge
black and white. Yeah,
black and white bands, like, at a time
yeah,
when that was not cool in England. I mean, that like, I think
yeah,
people sort of forget
yep.
about that. I mean, and one of the most fun shows I've seen in recent times was the English Beat. It was really
Oh
only
my
the
God.
original singer, but it was
Yeah,
I danced my ass off, and I'm not totally a
yeah.
dancer. Like,
I love that band. I love that band so
it was
much.
so much fun.
They play in Fairfield, Connecticut, like it seems like every year, and I have not gone, and I hate myself for that. But yeah, English Beat, Specials,
Yeah.
Madness. I think the Specials and the English Beat are the better of all those bands, and I saw the Specials before their singer passed away. Maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, and it was so great. And those guys, yeah, Unity, and
I'm gonna have to
I
listen to the specials tonight because
I will
now
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
just
first record, man, I produced by Elvis Costello, also one of my favorites, probably in my top three. That record is I it's a classic, you know.
yeah. No, it is, and then was that your inroad to kinda punk? Was it through ska or like for me, it was The Clash was sort of the first band I found, and it's funny because I was a
Yeah,
teenager in the '80s, but I really missed all like the beginnings of Minor Threat and stuff. And I grew up in
same, yeah,
Maine, not super far from DC, but the scene wasn't there. It was like The Clash and the Exploited and the Sex Pistols. It was sort of all that classic stuff was my inroads, and so I didn't like
yeah.
find the more sort of hardcore straight edge stuff till I was older.
Yeah, no, same. I for sure, and my first foray into punk rock was, because I'm a '90s kid, was Green Day. It was Dookie. I didn't know punk before that. Really, I was really into Def Leppard and Aerosmith, and I still listen to Def Leppard. But yeah, Green Day, and then I had a friend that loved the Bosstones, and I remember vividly. I was with him at a pool, and he played Question the Answers, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? What is this guy's voice?" Like, it is, because they come from hardcore, and they actually, I owe it to them. They introduced me to all the hardcore I love to this day. Sick of It All, H2O, Agnostic Front, all that stuff, and it just, I started going to hardcore matinees, and all that fun stuff. And to be honest, Steven, I was always intrigued by like straight edge. Um, and Toby Morris of H2O, he's been straight edge his whole life
Yeah.
basically. And I always like, even when I was drinking, and he's the reason I started drinking Liquid Death,
He's got a
because
good
he
podcast too. I don't know if you listened to it.
he absolutely does. And he's had so many of my heroes on it. But and he's a great guy. Had the pleasure of meeting him a few times, but I always thought, I was like, this guy, like, there's integrity in that, and it's really cool. And I now I'm like, shit, like, I could relate to it, and it's really nice. And that they were a band that always, like, meant something to me too. H2O, and like the posi core type of thing.
Yeah, another funny gateway for me because it's so funny to think about this now was U2. And I
Yeah,
remember seeing on TV the Under the Blood Red Sky concert at Red
yeah,
Rocks.
yep,
And because it was really political, and so it's like fed that side of me. Now they sort of seem a little bit like a cover band of themselves, and Bono is just sort
yeah,
of annoying. But back then, I
yeah,
was like, oh wow, like these guys are like talking about politics and they're talking about the world and changing the world,
yeah,
and
unapologetically.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, obviously they get a lot of flack now, and I guess they're sort of oversaturated in our world, but like, yeah, they were a punk band, right? Like their first couple of records are like, kind of post-punk. I mean, right? Like, I, yeah, then they're so influential. Like, there'd be no National or Interpol or any of the, like, I feel like they've like created such a cool sound that so many bands rip off of, like, and it's great. I love it. I love the hooks and yeah, no, U2 is, I never like fully dove into them, but I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to those sort of like early albums a lot, and it
Yeah,
was at the same time as sort of like uncovering, you know, punk. Like it was different. You went to record stores, right? And you
yeah.
talked to people. And there was this pawn shop in Portland, Maine that I'd go into, and you'd go behind the fire exit and he had bootleg tapes,
Yes.
right?
I love that. Yeah.
And it was it's so weird to think about it now, but it was so cool. And you would buy these bootleg concert tapes. Like it was like you're trying to like buy heroin or something. Like, why is this
Yeah,
hidden?
yeah.
This is so weird. It's like hidden behind the thing.
Coveted. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
I
so
love
that's
that.
how you found bands, right? You'd go into the record
Word of
shop
mouth.
and they'd be like, "Oh, if you like the Clash, you should like check out this band and that band." And
Yeah. If they weren't a dickhead. Yeah, I know, I know.
right.
You meet those people in record stores though that like can change your life, and that was such a big part of my life too. And there used to be a Sam Goody down from where and Sam Goody, it's obviously establishment, whatever, like mainstream, but the people that worked there, I used to go and just talk about music, and I was like a little punk kid, like, but they were always so cool and like introduced me to new things and like, yeah, no, the educational factor of that, it doesn't exist as much now. I mean, it's out there, but you think about like the film, the book, High Fidelity, like that
Yeah.
mentality,
The
Uh,
TV version of that was pretty great. I don't know if you watched that.
I did, and it got
I liked
canceled.
that.
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, she was great, Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, it was kind of a good, like, flip of the character. Like, it was
Yeah.
good. Like, I really liked Nick Hornby's books. I haven't read one
Oh
in
my
a long
God.
time, but there's a certain period where, like, I don't know, it's probably, like, the period of dudes that are your Nick Hornby age, but, like, he
Yeah, and
really
like
sort of spoke to me,
Bukowski. Yeah,
and he put out this book. Oh, man, what was it called? And it was about his favorite songs,
songbook. Yep,
songbook,
yep.
and he
I have a good story about that, but yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and he talked about his son,
yeah.
right? Because he
I
had a
love. Yep,
son that was essentially nonverbal,
yep.
and like that music was this connection
Mm-hmm.
with his
Yep.
nonverbal, really beautiful. And like, yeah.
That
And I
is,
think
yeah.
Songbook, I think was like a fundraiser um, kind of thing, but right. It came with a CD in it.
Yep. Yep. I saw him do a reading of it at a Barnes and Noble in the city Union Square, and there was a Q&A after, and I asked him, I was like, what are you currently listening to that's like moving you right now? And he was like, oh, that's a really good question. And it's the first thing he said was there was a duet of Matt Berninger and Saint Vincent. It was a cover of a Crooked Fingers song. I don't know. Do you know Crooked Fingers?
I
It's like a,
do. I don't know this
yeah.
song. I'm gonna have to look it up.
It was a cover. I can't think of the cover though. They covered something and it was really good. And that was his first answer. And I was so excited because that was when I like first started listening to the National. Um, I got to tell you how I found out about the National really quick because I feel like you can maybe relate to it.
It
I
was Sleep
was,
All Summer, for the record. I just Googled it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Also a song that Nico Case recorded
I
on
didn't
one
know
of her
that.
albums. Yep.
I didn't know that. Yeah, no, and it's a really good cover. And that's when Saint Vincent was like they like brought her out on tour and stuff. So that was really early on in her career. But yeah, I was so stoked about that he said that. But the National, I thought about it just now. I was at a party when I was maybe like 26, and I was like really heartbroken about some girl that I was seeing or something. You meet all these women in your life when you're young, and you think that it's going to be the end all. and we broke up or whatever. And I asked this kid, his name was Matt, and I said, "Do you have anything that like you could recommend me that like will make me feel better about my current situation?" And he's like, "Yeah, you should listen to this band, The National." And man, I gotta say, like, you talk about therapy, they made me feel so much less alone, um, and in my self-loathing state. Um, yeah, that's like a very like core memory
Yeah.
of mine.
What's the line? I have only 2 emotions, like total fear and dead devotion. I
Dead
probably just totally
devotion.
messed that up.
No, 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 no. That's is that Don't Swallow the Cat?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, "Yeah, I feel you, man.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
speaking
No,
my
it's
language. The
so
language of
much
the
of,
earnest man."
or even like My Mind's Not Right. Seeing a guy yell that repeatedly is like shit. Like, yeah, I remember I used to be out with my friends, at night. Like, we would just yell that out loud. When we were like, rowdy and like it's just like cathartic music. I still I'll listen to Alligator, Boxer, those records are just they're ingrained in me.
And he was really open in recent years about sort of his mental health struggles too. Like he went through this
Yeah.
extreme writer's block. And actually I like their new albums. I think they're really good. And
I like Laugh Track a lot. That
yeah.
that I really like. Yeah.
And he, probably got a little tiresome in all the pressers he had to do. I think for first 2 pages of Frankenstein, because it's like,
Yeah.
the press was lock onto the thing. It's like, oh, Matt's mental health. But he was, to his credit, was like really open about
He
struggling. And I think
he had
that's super important.
no, I do too. And he had an interview with I don't know if did you see his interview with Dave Letterman? It was a conversation, really. It's on video. Him and Dave Letterman talking about depression during
Oh, yes, I
COVID.
did see that. I love that Dave Letterman Netflix series also, by the way.
Yeah.
What a great
He's
interviewer.
he's a huge fan of the National too, and he talks about them a lot. But that conversation really cuts deep. For a guy like Dave Letterman to talk about some of the things they talk about, I was like, shit, this is really cool. But yeah, I mean, I love when guys in bands that I look up to are open about shit like that. I don't love that Dickie Barrett is open about the fact that he thinks vaccines are poison and all that stuff. But you got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
Yeah, it is hard, in this time. Like I really liked Sun Kill Moon.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
all
yeah.
like the
Mark
Me Too
Kozlik.
stuff happened. It's like it's
Yeah,
hard to know like what the right thing to do
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Um, or like Noah Levine and all the sort of Buddhist sobriety Dharma punk stuff. I was like, oh like God, like the Buddhist? Fuck, like not the Buddhist.
yeah, yeah.
And that's or like now Michael
Upsetting.
Franti, like, oh my God, you guys could just like keep it
It's
like, what is your problem?
Yeah, something about this administration is bringing out the worst in people, but we know what it is in this, but yeah, no, it's tough. I saw Sun Kill Moon about a year ago. My brother bought me tickets. It was just Mark and another guy. I gotta say, it was at a hotel in Tribeca. It was such a strange show, but man, he was unhinged in like the best way.
Yeah,
He
his
cried.
lyrics are wacky but
They
beautiful.
are, especially now. I love the record he did with uh, he did 2 records with I can't think of the metal art. You might know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I can't think of the guy's name, but um, really, really good. But yeah, I don't know. And like a lot of the stuff with anything when people are canceled or you don't know what to believe, and you try to think the best. I don't know. I'm very liberal and but sometimes cancel culture kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
Still,
It
you
it
know?
it it's hard, and I think it's hard to know. Like we've had a lot of conversations about Morgan Wallen and because some of
Yeah.
the younger kids in my family really like him. I'm like, but also Harry Potter. Like my older kids and I have such a deep love for Harry Potter, and now she's just a fucking whack job too. Like, does
Yeah,
that
yeah, I know.
ruin? like those books are so meaningful for us. Like when I got
Yeah.
divorced, I would read Harry Potter to my oldest every night. Like the week he was at his mom, I would read to him over the phone Harry Potter every night. Like
Oh
it
man,
was
I love
so like
that.
fundamental. Like, and
I've
then you're
never
like,
read them.
they're really, I mean, I think in the end, they're sort of about like, love and community and doing the right thing. But then she gets all
Yeah,
like fucking whack. And I'm like,
I
ah,
know, I
I mean,
know.
somebody
Everything I
once said
read about her.
it was good JD Salinger didn't have Twitter.
Yeah, yeah, I did hear that, and I loved J.D. Salinger, such a formative writer in my life. Catcher in the Rye made me love literature, but yeah, I can only imagine. Um, I said today, I was talking. Who was I talking? I was talking to maybe my wife about this. Separate the art from the artist. Oh, because we need new pillows. You might know where I'm getting with this.
Yeah. Not the My Pillow. Are they
I
good
did.
pillows? I don't
I
even
that
know.
Dude, this is exactly what we were talking about today. Her mother, who passed away recently as well, loved My Pillows. Also a liberal person, but loved My Pillows. And I was like, should we get those? Like, are they good? But I bought Casper pillows. So,
I mean, a
but
good pillow, as one
yeah,
gets older, your appreciation of a good pillow and a mattress
we
cannot
just
be
got a new mat.
underrated.
Yeah, we just ordered a new mattress because my neck and back hurt every day. Um, so yeah, we're in the sleep luxury cleanse period of our lives right now.
Yeah, I'm embarrassingly nursing like a rib injury from moving a couch we got. Like I pressed my arm into my ribs to like push the couch and heard
The
a pop.
little the smallest movements will do it now,
And I heard a
right? Yeah.
popping sound and I thought, "Oh, that's not good."
Yeah. Oh man, that sucks. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, "This is it's embarrassing, but it's also
I
not
don't
good."
think it's
And it
embarrassing. I don't
that
think
I
it's
like to sleep
embarrassing.
on. So that's been
Yeah.
hard because 'cause I'm like, "That's my sleeping side."
Yeah. Oh man, that's tough. Yeah, no, it's been a conversation for the last few days, so we bit the bullet today. But yeah, separate the art from the artist. I
And the pillow from the pillow guy.
and the pillow from the pillow maker. But I love Woody Allen films, and like that's also like what a polarizing guy, and
Yeah. He takes it
I
back. He's one of the earlier polarizing figures.
oh
I
yeah,
mean,
and
it is a little wacky to marry one's stepdaughter.
100%, and yeah, he's definitely an eccentric and probably a problematic guy. I don't know, who knows what happened, but those films really, really shaped me. I didn't go to college, but I watched, Husbands and Wives and Crimes and Misdemeanors, and I kind of like learned how to talk from those movies, and I attribute a lot of my vocabulary to those movies and like way of thinking. And I'm not gonna I'm not gonna let anyone take that away. So it's hard though. It really is.
It is, for sure. Before we wrap up, I like to, ask people any parenting advice or, like any wisdom you've learned along the way.
I mean, for me, I think one of my worst qualities, and I attribute this to the way that I grew up and the surroundings of which I grew up in. I tend to I tend to yell, when I react because I think I react poorly a lot. And when I look back to my daughter struggling with sleep because it was a real problem, I think about when I would yell at her and how it did fucking nothing. And I think if I could take back one thing, it would be every time I've ever yelled at my daughter because I think back to how she reacted. I think back to like the level of like just like fear, not fear really, but just we accomplish nothing when we raise our voice in that manner. And
And when you picture their reaction, because I think we've all lost our cool. And when you
yeah,
watch your kid kind of go back, you're like, oh, I fucked that up.
Yeah, or cry more,
Yeah.
or, say I'm sorry repeatedly. Like, it breaks my heart. I've gotten a lot better. I now bite my tongue. You know what? I bite my tongue so much now. And I swear to God, I never did that when I was drinking. I think before I speak, not all the time, but a lot. Even yesterday, I was with my brother, and he did something that pissed me off, and I had an inner conflict in my head where I was like, "Should I say it? Should I say it?" And I fucking didn't say it, and I gotta say, I am so proud of myself. So if I have one piece of advice, it's think before you react, because you can change the dynamic of a relationship so easy with a bad reaction. One bad reaction can change the dynamic of a friendship, of a marriage, of a paternal thing. Yeah, that's something that I'm learning more each day. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I once remember saying to myself, count to 5 in your head or count to 10 in your head. And I've said that to my
Yeah,
kids too. Like,
yeah,
just like, you don't always have to be right. Sometimes you can be
yeah.
right internally.
Totally. And I see it in my daughter, and it kills me because, she's my daughter, and she's learned, and she doesn't always react great. And we do breathing now. Take a breath, and, before bed, me, my daughter, and my wife, we do a list of gratitude. We do three things
Nice.
that we're grateful for every night that I have her. And it's, perspective, and gratitude, and leads to serenity, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
We do what's your rose, which is like your good thing. What's
okay.
your thorn,
Huh.
which is your not so good thing, and what's your bud, which is sort of like what you want to work on. That's to
I, I,
100% my wife's
I,
influence.
li- I like that a lot. And it's in threes too. There's got to be something about that.
Yeah.
Um, no, that's really great. I really like that a lot. Yeah, no, it's nice to have a ritual, right?
Yeah. Bedtime rituals, like big time.
Yeah, it helped with her sleep. Um, as did melatonin for a little while. We've kind of moved away from that,
Yeah.
but yeah, the melatonin gummies, which are, listen, if you have kids that can't sleep, honestly, like, that will pave the way for a little while.
I
Um,
on occasion will take a melatonin gummy myself when I cannot turn
yep,
my brain off.
yep. No, yeah. I mean, in addition to SSRIs, melatonin has curbed minor panic attacks for sure.
Yeah. All right. This was super fun.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
really was, Stephen. You're great. I think what you're doing is so great for people like you and I. And I've said the word cathartic a million times, but this has been really awesome, and it's got me thinking about a lot of things that I'm actually grateful for. So thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. Sober Dad Crew is a DIY project by Stephen Kimball, who writes, edits, and produces the show. To support the show, please review it where you listen to podcasts, or visit soberdadcrew.com to buy some merchandise or make a donation.